4, 3, 2, 1, watch me. Level up, level up, level up, level up, level up.
Hey guys, it's Lydia Navo, and I am here with Level Up with Lydia, your business podcast, your no BS, no fluff, only real life talk with business owners on how to grow your business. And I am so excited because I have someone here today that I don't even really know their whole story, but from hearing through the grapevine from lots of people, this is the man to talk to when it comes to growing a business and running a business. So I have Mr. Tim Raffield here. He is entrepreneur, business owner, and I'm so excited to have you. So thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for the introduction. I hope I live up to the hype.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. And so I guess let's just get started with your business journey. Where did you start? Where are you now? And we'll just chat about things along the way.
Well, once upon a time, I was this kid that was really fascinated with medicine and thought that I was going to be clinical. And I decided to get into that and try my hand at being an EMT, working in the ER. And eventually, for my undergrad, I was one of those biochem guys, one of the chemistry and biology guys. Ultimately decided to go into the industry side of medicine, mostly because I was just kind of seduced by the money.
Okay.
I started working for manufacturers and some pharmaceutical companies, but really gravitated more towards the device side of things, the technology piece.
Gotcha.
And worked my way up with a couple of different organizations, and got to the point where I was a what would be considered like a product expert, a subject matter expert on certain things. And that was with companies like GE Medical Systems and Varian Medical Systems. These are pretty large organizations, multi-billion-dollar international organizations.
And so what were you actually doing with them?
Yeah, so in that case, I was doing sales.
Okay.
And I was managing the sales of that product, and we would have these things called LCTs, which are just basically local sales teams. So I was managing at one point regional portions of the United States for a company called Mallinckrodt, and then that gets old if you travel that much.
Yeah.
So I was traveling all the time. And eventually I got to where I was just kind of focused on Texas and started managing the large capital products for them. These are like imaging products that they produced. These are some larger medical devices.
Okay.
Eventually you get to the point where you just kind of know what you're going to learn out of that process. Both of those organizations, both GE, actually all of them, GE, Mallinckrodt, and then also Varian, great organizations. That's where I took myself from being this, really nerdy guy to being more of a polished, where I could talk in the carpeted areas to executives. And we were really talking about capital expenditures spread out over years time. So we were managing portfolios at that point, and then managing risk tolerance. And then, ultimately selling our product.
Okay.
Right?
So all of your sales experience was from that job, or had you had prior sales experience?
No, it was clinical before that. Before that, I was responding to emergencies, and before that, I was in the lab. I was really kind of one of these nerdy guys, right? So I was. We were doing crash teams, and people were coming to the ERs for God knows what, and that was my life. I really thought that I was going to be clinical, so I went from that clinical environment where I got really good at compartmentalizing in that environment. So if I had panic inside of me, it left me at that point, because all the training that you go through really allows you to stop and think about what you're doing in that moment, and your training takes over. And then went into the corporate world. And I just didn't go into like a small corporate world. I went into a huge corporate world with these very large companies. And these are companies to where these people they all sit on other boards, right? So Varian sat on the board of HP, and HP sat on the board of Varian, and that person sat on the board of Apple. And so one of the coolest things about being in that job was I got to see the iPad about 2 years before every single person got to see an iPad.
Whoa.
Because they would give them to the board members
to test and
to play around with.
That's awesome.
So a lot of the Apple products before they came out, were given to some of the Varian folks to play with. And they were told, this is a prospective product or something like that. So you would see some cutting edge technology before if you were hanging out and you went to corporate meetings and stuff like that. You'd be like, what is that? What are you playing
What
with?
is that thing?
Yeah, what is that thing? But that's really where I developed my business acumen was their professional business acumen.
And how long were you with them before you decided
I
to
was
switch?
with Mallinckrodt for about 4 years, and I was with GE for about 7, and then I was with Varian for about 6.
Okay.
And then after that, I decided to create our own company.
Okay.
Right. So I broke off with some other Varian guys. And we developed a service company specific to the gaps that we were seeing with some of the large OEM original equipment manufacturers. And we were providing a service for some of what would be considered smaller regional facilities and some privately owned things.
Okay.
And that was successful. And we've done that for a long time.
And it's still going on?
Yeah, so it's a third iteration of it.
Okay.
So I developed it, I sold it, I purchased it back, and that's where we are now. And then in conjunction to that, I started a secondary parts business, and then in a conjunction to that, I started a full service HVAC company as well too. So I went back and got educated again on the mechanical aspects of a building.
Sure.
And started that, and that company does residential and commercial HVAC and refrigeration work. In conjunction to that, I was invited to sit on the board of Smart Financial, which is a really large credit union in town. And they have some very strong relationships with other financial institutions because I wanted to learn more about the financial vehicles that kind of govern business, govern our personal lives as well too. So I wanted to increase what was my financial acumen, and the best way to do that is to get on that side of the fence and see how everything works.
Awesome. And so I want to go back to kind of all of those little things and talk about some of the things in there, but going all the way back to when you decided, let's break off and start our own. Wow. How scary was that?
It was terrifying.
Tell us about what made you say
terrifying.
We're going to do it?
Yeah, it was absolutely terrifying. The biggest thing that I saw that made me want to do it was there was a colleague of mine, and she was absolutely phenomenal. She was President's Club. She just blew it out of the water. And then 2 quarters after that, she was put on probation. Because it was in that particular type of environment, it wasn't what you have done, it's what you have done for me lately. And it just really boggled my mind that you took this person that I would consider like elite in their class, and we had some management leadership changes and stuff like that. And this was that typical corporate story, to where new management comes in, they don't try to bring up anybody else. What they do is they go to their frat that they attended in college, and they hire everybody out of that frat, all their little friends that were in completely non-related fields, people that had never touched medicine in their life. They're coming from like, paper companies and things like that. And they hired them on as their team. They're building their team around them, and I understand that aspect of it. But it just made me think to myself that I wanted to have more control over my own destiny.
Sure.
And I thought that type of behavior was not appropriate. It really wasn't conducive with building a strong company. And plus, I did recognize that large companies are like aircraft carriers. Really large OEMs are like aircraft carriers. And they leave a lot in their wake.
Okay.
Quite a bit in their wake, and they can't turn around to go get it. They can't pivot very quick. Large companies don't pivot.
Yeah.
If you're a smaller, more nimble company, you don't have to make billions, but the things that are left over are millions. And when I realized that if you can specialize in just coming behind these billion-dollar companies and filling that gap, you can make quite a good living doing that.
Yeah. And so what do you think was the biggest, besides taking the step to start your own business, being scared, what do you think was like the number one thing that helped you guys become successful?
It going from the mentality of I'm going to invest in the business, I'm going to invest in this financial vehicle and that financial vehicle, to really changing your mindset to say that I'm going to become an investor in people, I'm going to become an investor in relationships. Um, if we all, everyone here understands that money comes and goes. It will. It ebbs and flows, right? And we do our best to manage that process and cash flow as business managers. But relationships will see you through. And if I was to tell a person that is forming a business, focus on that. Focus on the relationships that you will have. That networking and long-term relationships, become interested in people. And when you show a genuine interest in them, they reciprocate that back, and I mean genuine interest into them. And those will pay off in the long term.
And I think that brings up two good points of business success is, yes, relationships, but also mindset, right? You talked about having that mindset of I'm going to invest in people instead of just things, right? And I know that years ago, I coached a lawyer who could not hire someone to save her life. Like, she would hire them, and like a month later, they're gone. A month later, they're gone. And it wasn't until she changed her mindset of saying, I'm not trying to be the best lawyer in Houston. I'm trying to be the best law firm owner, which meant building a great team. And so like that mindset shift right there for her is what made the difference of being able to learn how to become a better business owner, not a better lawyer. And I think that's kind of where that mindset shift came to.
I had a really interesting life altering event once. I attended the funeral service of a gentleman that was very involved in Boy Scouts of America. I was very involved in Boy Scouts of America at one point. And this gentleman had worked at one of the local refineries here in Houston. And then after his retirement, he was a bus driver. But he stayed active in the Boy Scouts of America. When I went to the funeral service, it took me probably about 45 minutes to just try to find a place to park. I had to park like 7 blocks away. This man had hundreds of vehicles show up. It was overflow capacity. You could not get in. The people were standing in the parking lots and standing in the parking lots adjacent to that as well too. And it struck me to myself, it doesn't matter what you do in life, necessarily, like what your vocation is.
Right.
It matters who you affect in life. And that is your legacy. And that was something that he understood to a great degree. And it really changed my mindset that no one's going to ever care about necessarily what was my progression through my professional career. What they're really going to care about is, did I leave it better than I found it? Did I make a difference? Did I try to invest in others? Did I try to bring out the best of them? And was I a good person? And if you do those things, believe it or not, the money comes, and it comes in droves. That's it. This whole notion of, okay, nice guys finish last, that's bogus. That is so bogus. They tell you in sales, in order to do sell successfully, people will buy from people they like. More importantly, people will buy from people they trust. You will never get that portion if you're not a good human being, if you're not a kind person.
People say
if you're genuinely kind, people throw business at you. I promise you'll get to a point to where you're just like, I don't have capacity. I can't do it.
What is the number one thing in all of the businesses that you've had your hand in? Maybe it's not one thing, maybe it's multiple things, but investing in people. How would you, what advice would you give to other business owners who are maybe having a tough time with their culture or getting their people motivated or staying motivated? What's one thing that you could tell them to do to invest in their people?
There is no such thing as a universal value proposition. Value propositions differ between individuals. And you can go in there and say, okay, well, maybe this, recognition is a big thing in the corporate world. We like to give recognition to people so they can see that they're doing a great job, right? But people want to be recognized in different ways. If you really want to build a culture, make sure that your people understand that you're invested in them. And make that known, a known subject. Spend time with them. I had an opportunity yesterday that I took my people out for coffee, and we just talked. And we didn't necessarily have to sit there and talk about business strategy. We talked about what's going on in their lives and what do they have coming up. And I really made it about them. Now with the ulterior motive that we're building culture, we're building team at this point. When everyone is aligned culturally, they will be more effective. They'll get more done. But yeah, find out what that individualized value proposition is for other individuals. And I'll say this: there was one other thing I did want to mention to you that I think is absolutely core to success in business. You will have successes. You will certainly have losses. Tenacity is something that you see universal across anyone who is successful. Most business people have felt the crunch of cash flow or felt that, oh, well, why don't I just give up and go do a W-2 or something along those lines. It's the tenacity. If you stick with something and you continue to go at it, you will be successful. You will be successful. I will tell people that over and over again. Don't give up whenever it gets hard. It's okay to have a setback.
Sure.
Everybody does. Right?
Learn from it, move on.
But just go right back at it again, because you're going to take those lessons learned and they'll start compounding on each other.
You won't make that mistake again if you take the lesson and learn it.
Yeah.
Do you think tenacity is something that business owners, like anybody, can have, or do you think only certain people have it?
Well, I do think that it takes a certain individual to be an entrepreneur, right? I don't think it's for everyone. The vast majority of people are W-2 workers, and because it gives them a sense of security and it fulfills its need. But for those individuals that feel like they want to do their own thing, I think that being tenacious is a quality you have to have. It can develop over time. Because there's a lot of people, quite honestly, they'll get a setback and they're like, I tried it. There'll be a franchise, they'll start a franchise and the franchise will run really well for 4 years. And then after that, they're in a forced sale and they're like, I tried it. I'm going back. I'm doing something else. I'm going to go back and do a W-2. Or we'll have business owners, and it happens in our own culture where we'll have business owners that the business will start to slide and they go back and get a W-2 to help things. Don't look at that as a setback. Look at that as a lesson learned, and then try to figure out what you can do better next time.
Yeah.
You will have tough Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays and things like that. Don't let it get to you. That is part of
life.
Doing
human.
business.
Yeah.
It is just part of the ride.
Yeah.
There's so many other benefits that come along with it, especially the one where you get to decide on what day you're going to have and how you're going to spend your time and how you'll spend your resources and things like that. So, yeah.
Awesome. And so what made you, jumping forward to now, business owner of a HVAC company?
Yeah.
What made you choose that after going from medical? Why HVAC?
All right. So there was a couple of reasons. And it's when I explain it, it'll sound way more natural than what it looks like on the outside.
Yeah.
All right. So the company that I own is a medical services company. So what we do is we don't actually make anything. We maintain, repair, and then replace the medical devices out in the field. Now, those medical devices, a lot of them produce a lot of heat because they use radiation as part of their function. And this excess heat has to be taken off with the use of either specialized HVAC systems or chillers. And we have to dissipate that heat off. The second thing is that not everyone has an MRI, but most people have an HVAC system. And so I looked at it two different ways. Number one, I could address the issue that I was having of having an ancillary service to something I was already doing. The other thing is I could broaden my customer base into something I already knew the industry. I already knew service industry. I knew how to handle engineers and handle techs and manage that process. So this to me was just another thing. But what I didn't have was the expertise. So I had to build that up over time. But Houston, Houston and the surrounding metro areas, these are all the cities that support Houston. It's about 7 million people. We are the most air-conditioned space in the world.
I don't doubt that at all.
In the world. There's not another city that has
crazy.
more air conditioning space than we do.
Probably also the most air conditioning companies.
We have a lot.
There's a lot, yeah.
big ones.
Yeah.
But even with that, there's not enough capacity.
Oh.
Because we made the decision decades ago to have kids kind of move out of the trades.
Yeah.
And so now we're facing this massive deficit. So we have a lot of these companies to where people are aging out. So from an acquisition opportunity standpoint, what would be considered the trades is rich.
Mm-hmm.
Because people are basically retiring out. And you have a deficit of the services being provided and in a surplus of the needs. So that was one of the reasons why I really looked at this. I read an article about 5 years ago, and it said the next millionaires are going to be plumbers.
100%.
And I would put MEP in there, which is the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, trades.
Yeah.
So if you're in the home services and you own a trades company, it's a very small leap to add other ancillary trades to that. And so that's the more the long-term plan for this is to have a multi-site that, I'm getting a little bit off on a tangent here, but when you look at what is going to be the largest expansive area in the United States, like what will have the largest growth across all other sectors in the United States, all other regions in the United States, it will be the Texas Triangle. It'll be the space between Houston, the Austin, San Antonio, and the Dallas-Fort Worth area. There will be more large companies and more development in those areas than any other place in the United States. That will see more wealth move into it. And we've already started to see that with what we would consider the companies moving out of what would be Northeast and also on the West Coast and starting to relocate in those areas. Right now, we have major factories and things being built, and we're going to have more homes to support those things as well, too. So putting my stake down in that area over the next decade, I think is a pretty good bet.
Yeah. And that does bring up a good question because we do work with a lot of trades at our company at Level Up. And a lot of them are going through hey, there's not as many people entering the plumbing or HVAC. So how do you look at hiring and making sure retaining team members so that you can support the work?
So I would say get with a really good recruiting firm and be friends with the trade schools is really the best way to go about it, or either purchase a trade school and in-house it and just, make everything vertical.
Yeah.
So that's the way that I would approach it. I do think that we need more young people in the trades. I think that the tide is turning as we've seen a lower return in investment on college education. We have a lot of young people that are graduating with a tremendous amount of debt and are not seeing that return on investment. And so as we kind of move into this space to where they're saying, well, what other alternatives are there? The trades are becoming more and more lucrative and also more appealing, I think, to
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so would you consider that a small business, the HVAC company, compared to some of the other companies that you've worked for?
Oh, yeah. No, it's not. Everything I own is a small business.
Okay.
Yeah. It's still in the category of a small business.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
And then let's talk a little bit about the Smart Financial. Yeah. Being on the board of that. So tell us what some of the things you've learned, why you got involved in that.
Well, number one, I'm going to plug Smart Financial for a second. It is a phenomenal organization. It has been consistently in the U.S. News World Report top 100 employer over and over and over again. Phenomenal organizations. And credit unions as a whole, I am a fan of. The credit unions are cooperative, nonprofit organizations as opposed to your for-profit banking institutions. Now, I don't have nothing against JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Cap One. Those are all great. B of A. Those are great institutions. But when you see and participate in a credit union, you are a member, not a customer. And so you have a financial stake in it as well, too. You vote onto the leadership. You have a vote like anyone else, like you would have from a shareholder meeting of a bank. You typically have a more personalized experience. And because the institution is focused towards membership, your rates are typically more competitive and lower as well, too. So I think having a relationship with both big box banks and also a credit union, a localized credit union, is a big deal. My role there has changed over the years. So at my current role now is a vice chair. So I essentially help the chair and then vote as a director on different initiatives and things that are brought in front of the board. and for myself, I love a life of service. I love giving back. I also like to learn because I'm a big nerd. And learning that part has been an absolute joy. And even though I'll be going on to this conference and a lot of people will be like, oh, you'll be talking about finance all day. I find that interesting.
Sure.
I find the policy of finance and the way that it touches our lives very interesting. And it does touch our lives. It touches our lives in all kinds of ways. You get to really understand how different institutions, although it could be, financially convenient, can be predatory in their nature. And this lack of financial education that we see in all people, especially young people, how financially fluent they are, I think needs to be addressed. They're not learning it in school. And they're not learning it in college as well, too, to a large degree.
No.
And I think we're really doing ourselves a disservice. And we see that with we have the highest credit card debt ever currently right now. And these aren't low interest credit cards. These are credit cards that run up to 28.8%. It is insane, the amount of debt that we are incurring as individuals, especially if we're starting these individuals right off in life. We really do need to, I think, as adults, sit and think, what can we do to help try to educate these folks and get them out of this situation?
Does Smart Financial do a lot of education for
They do. They have something called Smart Money, and this is a program that is brought out to the local ISDs around this area because we're a regional credit union. And so they provide all these opportunities for people to learn. This is something that anyone can go onto the website and actually see. So there's a Smart Money modules in there that you can look at, and it gives life lessons and things to think about. And this is practical money management tools that are there as well, too.
Awesome. We'll have to link that in this for sure.
Yeah.
And I do want to talk a little bit, if you're comfortable with it, of you got a lot going on.
Yeah.
You're managing a lot of different things. So how has that affected personal life as a business owner?
Right. So everyone talks about this balance that you have to do, right? Not every person is a really good multitasker. It kind of depends on your personal aptitude for it. I find it invigorating. In fact, I get a little nervous if it's like a quiet moment, right? And I'm like, oh, well, what's going on? It's way too quiet. I find the fact that I have to switch gears so quick really nice. I've been married for 32 years now, right?
Congratulations.
And I couldn't do what I do without the support of my family, support of my wife, who's a brilliant person. And so we really kind of do have separate tasks, right? I'm very involved in my family. Being an entrepreneur allows that flexibility in your schedule and to be involved with your family. But I am busy. And so my wife does absolutely 100% handle that portion. I like to say that I'm managed well. And I have an admin that's an absolutely wonderful admin on the HVAC side. I have an admin on the medical services side. That company's called Alpha Clinical. And then I have an admin on the finance side as well, too. And then my wife is the ultimate, tells me what to do and when and where.
Love it.
And that works. It works out for everybody. At least that's what they tell me.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a really important lesson as well, because so many business owners start the business and just try and do it all themselves. And that's when they get burnt out, right? They get burnt out and they do neglect their family time because they're working literally 24 hours a day. And so having those, I always say when people start with me, if you don't have an admin or a virtual assistant or something, that's the first thing you got to get, because you got to be able to delegate some of that stuff to have.
A good rule of thumb is if you're doing it more than twice a week, you should probably look at delegating that out. I work off of something called the Eisenhower matrix, which a lot of business folks are familiar with. And so I try to live in that upper left-hand quadrant, which is it needs to be important and it needs to happen right now. Everything else is pretty much a delegation or a deletion. And I'm not a bookkeeper. I'm horrible at it. I am not very good at the accounting piece. I'm certainly not very good at dispatch or scheduling, and I think my techs and my engineers would argue that I shouldn't be allowed around machines that much. But those folks they're very, very, very good at what they do. And so I had a very influential manager. His name was Dan Bragg, and this was back in my Mallinckrodt days. And he told me something. It just stuck with me. So Dan, if you're listening, you did say this. But he told me something. He said, you have to let your horses run. And that means that as a manager, your main job is to help facilitate people's success and remove obstacles for them. It's not to do their job. That's not your job.
Yeah.
Let your horses run and get out of the way.
Yeah.
People will do it, and you don't have to micromanage that process. If you find yourself micromanaging that process, that person needs new training.
Yep. Either new training or new person.
Yeah, new training or new person. But get out of the way.
Yeah, but I think that's we talked about that in the last episode a little bit of understanding what your strengths and weaknesses are and being able to say, hey, I am not a good bookkeeper. I'm going to hire a bookkeeper.
Be humble.
Be humble. And I think that's great to see that firsthand, right?
Yeah.
Admitting that, yes, that's exactly what it takes to become a successful business owner. I think the last thing that I really want to touch on is just if you had one piece of advice, right? Something that somebody could do today that a year from now, they look back and go, wow, that really made a difference.
Right.
That one thing. What would that be?
Something I didn't know first, and then it's become a passion of mine now, right? Is financial literacy, right? Financial literacy from a business perspective really kind of focuses on if you're in business, and we have these cash flow ebbs and flows in a small business. Ask for money and procure those financial instruments before you need it. Right? The moment that you need it, and you're thinking it's going to be real hard to get. But if you establish these things ahead of time and you increase your financial literacy in that regard, you can use that even at the times that you don't need it to do something else, which I find is even more important. Most people look at their businesses and they look at it in terms of increasing efficiencies and organic growth, and then they hard stop. You can only do that so much.
Right.
You will plateau. All right. That is just going to happen. You need to put together a comprehensive strategy of doing those efficiencies, looking at organic growth, but most importantly, start to look at merger acquisitions on the other side of it. Because if you want to have transformative growth, if you don't want to have transformative growth, don't listen to this. But if you do want to have transformative growth, you really do have to look at merger acquisitions as a large part of your strategy. And that is the purchasing similar businesses or same as businesses or ancillary businesses. Look for structures that can feed off of each other. The more that you do that, the freer you are as an individual, because then you can have administrative staff and managers that are running that, and you're more of an overseer of this operation.
Yeah.
But you have to set that up before you need it.
Yep. Yeah. Or
if you
wait,
wait,
you'll never get there. Yeah.
Or if you wait and you're like, okay, well, I'm in a crunch. That should be part of the strategy, because if you're not utilizing those funds, if you go ahead and you set up these funds, these financial vehicles to do that, and you're not using them for cash flow, you should absolutely be using them to do targeted merger acquisitions.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not adding to the business. You're multiplying the business.
That's correct.
That's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
I love it. That's great advice. Is there anything that we haven't talked about today that you're like, man, I need people to understand this?
No, I think we covered a lot.
This has been great.
Yeah, we covered
really
a whole lot. So maybe I'll be back one day. We'll see, and we'll cover some more material.
No, this has been great. I really appreciate everything you've given, the advice. We'll definitely put some of the resources that we talked about in the description so you guys can go learn about it and take the advice, right? Take action on what we talked about. This isn't just to listen to and go, cool, that was great. It's to get the business going. So
that's right.
Really appreciate you being here, Tim. Thank you so much. And we'll look forward to this.
Fantastic. Thank you.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Level up, level up, level up, level up, level up.